Where we're going, we were told to follow the car in front of us.
We're in Tbilisi, Georgia, trailing an undercover cop car.
Last time they did a raid like this, the bosses were tipped off, and that's why everything depends on secrecy.
The police are planning a secret raid at an office in a skyscraper, somewhere in the financial district. We think it's home to a major scam call center.
We've driven into this parking garage, and the German and Georgian police are in disguise.
An officer walks up to the intercom and says he's here to deliver some post. There's a buzz, and the door swings open. This is the BBC World Service, and I'm Simona Weinglass, an investigative reporter with BBC Eye. For almost a decade, I've been covering financial fraud and cybercrime, and it's taken me years to get to this office in Tbilisi. To understand what's going on inside, you need to know how I got here. It's a story about a billion-dollar crime syndicate that wraps in undercover agents, a world-famous football club, police, and politicians. It contains a warning about investment schemes that tout for your cash and lure ordinary people into a trap. And it starts with an advert that you can find right now online.
Wondering how to open a trading account with EverFX? In the next 3 minutes, we will explain how this can be done fast and easy.
Social media is littered with these kinds of ads. This one's from YouTube.
Your trading account is basically your door to Forex trading.
It's pushing the idea of online trading, trying to predict which way pounds, dollars, or euros will move against each other. That's Forex trading, but you can try your luck with gold and cryptocurrencies too.
Don't panic. We will tell you everything you need to know.
This platform, EverFX, promises to make things easy.
Ready to start trading? Join EverFX today.
There are plenty of reputable trading platforms out there. Brokers that make money if your prediction is wrong. And EverFX looks like one of them. There's even a big-name sponsorship deal, too.
I didn't know much about trading, but EverFX taught me everything I needed to know.
This is Nemanja Gudel, a football player at Seville FC, a top-tier Spanish football team. EverFX paid to have their logo appear on the team shorts and for players to give testimonials without knowing what they were selling.
EverFX, main global sponsor of Sevilla Football Club.
But I've heard not everything at EverFX is as it seems. Online, there are a string of complaints from people who've lost money. I want to find out what prompted them, and the BBC agreed I could sign up as a customer with a fake name to try and find out what's happening. I register with a host of online trading platforms, and not long after,
Here we go.
I get a call from a company that appears to be linked to EverFX.
Hi, this is Jen.
Hi, Jen. This is Patrick.
I can't let them know who I really am, so I'm going by Jen.
How are you, darling? How is everything going?
Oh, it's been a rough month, but, I'm really excited about this.
I'm posing as a school teacher from Canada.
I got my paycheck, and so I have a little money to invest right now.
I end up having a few calls with people from firms linked to EverFX. I think something unusual is happening behind the scenes, and the BBC has agreed I can invest $500 through a Bitcoin wallet to see what we can learn.
So you would like me to deposit money into that wallet? And then what comes next?
Okay, what comes next is this. We will provide you with strategies that you might follow in order to generate some steady income every single day.
How much money do you think I could make in a month doing this?
So, getting something like 70 or 80% or 90%, not in just 1 month, but that can happen in one single day.
With their help, I can generate returns of up to 90% a day, Patrick tells me. When I get signed in, it looks like he might be right. I try placing a trade, predicting dollars will go up in value, and can track it in real time. It's a rush, and I'm only working with $500. But I've been talking to an EverFX customer who invested much more.
I thought the day trading sounded fun and something that would be quite exciting. And I thought I'd quite like to, as part of my retirement, to do that.
This is Jane, not her real name. She wants to remain anonymous. EverFX set her up with an account manager like mine.
It was very jovial. We would have just, well, what have you done today? How's the family? I suppose befriending somebody is a way to gain their trust, isn't it, really? And I agreed to put 20,000 in with him.
Jane started with an investment of £20,000, about $25,000, most of her savings, and added more when her account manager suggested transferring to a new platform. Some of her trades won, and some lost.
He'd encouraged me to place a large trade.
But this trade, a bet that the price of gold would rise, was a big one.
I left it in, and in the morning, I'd lost everything on it, really.
The trade was a disaster. It wiped out most of Jane's investment.
So that was the point where I just thought, I'm no good at this. It's too stressful.
She decided to cut her losses and withdraw what was left. And that's when things got worse.
I didn't get a response from him. I didn't get a response from the company. They just went to ground. That was when I lost the money. But
this wasn't just bad financial advice, an unlucky trade. Jane's account stopped working altogether. Her account manager stopped replying. Her money was gone.
So how much did you lose total?
Total, about £27,000, like $30,000.
And how did you feel?
Just completely betrayed. I just felt sick in the pit of my stomach, just completely sick and humiliated, really, which is why I'm sitting here anonymously, because I feel completely embarrassed at how well I was fooled.
What would you like to say to the people who have your money?
What can you say to somebody whose greed is so great that they're happy to destitute somebody? So I don't think I could say anything to these people, because I don't think any of it would sink in. I think their hearts are stone.
It was heartbreaking to hear Jane's story. The UK authorities said they couldn't help. And online, I find more reports of people losing money after starting trading with EverFX. I'm interested because I've heard it might be the tip of an iceberg. A front for a much bigger organization. One I've been investigating for years. Back in 2020, I was part of a consortium of journalists that obtained this video footage. The sound isn't great. It's from a party taking place in Kyiv in Ukraine. Hundreds of people are drinking and dancing, packed into a huge conference center. It's a New Year party for the Milton Group, a shadowy organization that had offices in Kyiv. The video was filmed by a whistleblower, someone who started work at the Milton Group but was outraged by what he saw. We'll call him Alex. That's not his real name, of course. And he started filming what was happening at a giant Milton Group call center in Ukraine. He and his colleagues were scammers, instructed to promote risky online trading schemes, just like EverFX, and encourage victims to invest their cash. Alex shared his evidence with an international consortium of journalists. I was one of them. And together, we published a story exposing the Milton Group's activities and naming the Ukrainian office's boss. It made headlines around the world. Alex felt he'd taken a huge personal risk. The Milton Group had some shady people working for it. So just before the story went live, he fled the country and is now living in hiding. Despite relying on his undercover work, I never actually met him in person.
Alex?
I wanted to know what had happened to him and the Milton Group, so I went to find him. All I can say is that I'm somewhere in Scandinavia, on the edge of a forest. The sun is glinting through the pine trees, but it's so cold I can see my breath.
We have so much to talk about.
We drive to a cozy house that sits beside a lake, a few miles away, and Alex tells me his story. We're using an actor's voice.
So you were working at Milton Group.
Yes.
How long did it take you to figure out that something was wrong and that this wasn't a normal investment company?
I worked out what they were doing after 3 months.
He started working at Milton innocently enough, but it wasn't long before he got what was really going on.
That's when I understood the kind of that was happening there.
You understood that you were just scamming.
Yes, it's clear.
It's clear.
Yes,
What percentage of clients lost their money?
everyone.
Everyone. 100%.
100%.
So what would happen to the money once people deposit it in their account?
Everything goes into a cryptocurrency. Final destination, the Milton Group's crypto wallets.
It all went into the Milton Group's crypto wallet.
Yes.
The money is funneled directly into Bitcoin wallets, presumably controlled by the leaders of the Milton Group. Alex was appalled by what he saw and decided to do something about it.
Tell me about the day you decided you couldn't work at the Milton Group anymore.
It was a hard decision because I was aware of the consequences.
Were you scared of what you were doing?
Yes, I had a fear to get caught. It was very complicated, psychologically, and physically it made me ache. I didn't sleep well for months.
That's why Alex is now living in hiding. He didn't think the authorities in Ukraine could keep him safe after the story broke in 2020. And today, Alex says the company is still alive and well. It's doing better than ever.
So even though there was a huge expose involving dozens of newspapers around the world, Milton Group is still operating.
Yes, they're still operating, and they're making even bigger money.
Are you serious?
Yes, since March 2020, since we broke the story. As far as I can see, they weren't affected at all. I've been doing my own investigation, and it looks like the company is thriving.
And according to your estimates, they managed to get $600 million in the last...
2 years, yes. And it could be as much as $1 billion.
$1 billion. Alex built that estimate by analyzing a vast network of Bitcoin wallets and companies he says are used by the group. It's like a spider's web, so finding out who's in charge won't be easy. After the story was published, the call center operation dispersed, but the work itself continued. Both at other sites in Ukraine, even after Russia invaded last year, and at new locations overseas, they seem to be expanding fast. Using Alex's research as a starting point, we've been combing back over documents, looking into company records and tax filings in countries around the world. I showed the puzzle to an expert.
What you've been showing me is this patchwork of multiple different companies and structures registered in multiple different jurisdictions, which all of them combine to create a strange, amorphous reality where nothing is anywhere. It becomes somehow everywhere and nowhere at once.
This is Oliver Bullough, an expert on international money laundering. He's written several books about it. We've come to visit him at his home in the west of England. He says the maze-like structure of Milton exists for a reason.
Why is this so complicated? The point is the complexity. Just to stop me or you or anyone else thinking, I'm going to devote a year of my life to understanding this. Complexity is the weapon. To try and force other people just to give up, say, I can't be bothered to look into this, instead of investigating this gigantic fraud that has been committed. If you are a law enforcement agency or an investigative journalist, burning through every layer of that structure is exhausting. It'll take you years. It can be impossible.
Oliver is right. It is really complicated. We work our way through a tangle of shell companies in Hong Kong and the British Virgin Islands, with subsidiaries in Cyprus, Georgia, and Ukraine. And slowly, a picture begins to emerge. We find a cadre of top lieutenants. There's Rati Chalidze and Guram Gogeshvili. They registered or ran a number of the companies in the Milton network, including EverFX. And then there's Yoseb Megeladze, who owned a call center we know was used to carry out some of the scams, but who strongly denies any involvement. Connecting all of these people is one man, David Kezrashvili. He doesn't own a trading platform, but he does own a building we think housed a Milton call center, and he's involved in a tech company that built the trading platforms. Kezrashvili is a businessman and entrepreneur, and before that, he served as Georgia's Minister of Defense. He's 44 and looks every inch the politician. Clean-shaven, close-cropped hair, sharp suits. He seems quietly commanding. He was found guilty of corruption after leaving office, but says the charge was politically motivated. An English court accepted his claim and refused to extradite him to Georgia. But if he returns, he'll face prison. In the documents, we found an address. We think David Kezrashvili now lives in London.
So it's a gorgeous street. There are fancy cars driving by every minute.
In Chelsea, one of the most expensive parts of town.
It's just kind of a lovely neighborhood and probably not a bad place to live if you can spare 10 million pounds.
I want to know what he can tell us about the Milton network.
It's a red brick house with several floors. By the standards of this neighborhood, it is a mansion.
And the people, I think, run it.
Hi, I'm a journalist with the BBC.
A young man opens the door.
I'd like to speak with David Kezrashvili. Is he available? Can you go ask him if he could talk to me? Thanks.
He goes back into the house for a minute or so and reappears, shaking his head.
He's not available? Okay. Did you tell him that I'm a journalist with the BBC? He's not available. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.
I'm disappointed not to speak to the man himself, but I want to tell someone about what we've found. And I think I've found the right person in an unlikely location. Bamberg in southern Germany, a medieval town straight out of a storybook.
Hi.
Hello, Simona.
Hello, Simona.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Welcome to Bamberg. Come inside.
The cobbled streets and gray skies are home to a police unit at the forefront of the battle against online trading fraud.
My name is Nino Goldbeck. I'm a public prosecutor here in Bamberg.
Nino's team works to solve complex international fraud cases that involve organized criminal networks, OCGs as he calls them.
So they are very well organized, a lot of different perpetrators on different hierarchical levels. They are operating across the borders, different countries. So that is when we say this is organized crime. And it's very, very hard to investigate such groups. Almost impossible.
How many OCGs do you think there are operating these cyber trading scams?
A lot of different OCGs.
And the typical OCG brings in how much from German victims every year?
Millions.
Millions?
Yeah.
And so presumably they're bringing in hundreds of millions from people all over the world if they're bringing in a few million.
For sure. And our biggest problem is that we only see the reported cases. And there is a very considerable number of unreported cases.
I tell Nino about our investigation into the Milton Group.
So can you tell us if that's a particularly big scamming group?
We are investigating into the Milton Group, but for investigative reasons, we can't give you any further answer to this.
They're investigating too. I'd been hoping for more information, but on that front, it's a dead end. Every question meets the same flat response.
Who are the big bosses of the Milton Group?
No comment.
No comment.
It's interesting speaking to Nino and his team. The Milton Group is on their radar. But I leave Bamberg without much new information. So we set about publishing what we know so far. But then we get a call.
Hi, Dr. Goldbeck.
It's Nino Goldbeck with an important message.
I'm here to ask you not to broadcast the documentary right now. I know that I am not in a position to demand the hold off, but I'm really concerned, to be honest, that could jeopardize our investigations.
The German prosecutor's investigation is reaching a head. Nino tells me they're planning a series of secret raids on suspected scam call centers across Europe. A major operation leveraging 8 national police forces. We agree to a deal. We'll hold off publication if we can join one of the raids. This could be our chance to see the Milton Group from the inside and understand how they really operate. And so, on a cold Tuesday morning in November, we find ourselves in Georgia, driving through Tbilisi's commercial district, trailing a convoy of unmarked police cars.
We have no idea where we're going. We were told to follow the car in front of us.
Modern glass buildings tower over the old Soviet architecture.
Last time they did a raid like this, the bosses were tipped off, and that's why everything depends on secrecy.
The cars fell into a parking garage at the side of a tall building. One of the policemen rings the buzzer and says he's here to deliver some post. The doors open and we just walk in. The office is smart and clean on the 36th floor of a tall glass tower. Young employees are huddled by the windows, waiting to be questioned. It doesn't look like the top guys are here.
Dr. Nino, how's it going? Did it go off as expected?
We are quite happy with the situation right now, and well, this is only one object of this operation in Georgia, so we really have to see what's going on, what are the details in all those different places.
There were fears someone might hit a kill switch, shutting down all the computers and blocking our access. But I can see there's still plenty of information.
So these screens are really interesting. You have the names of people that they were calling to get money from them. And you've got Sweden, United Kingdom again, and then you've also got Malta, Netherlands, Portugal. So you can see that this is just sort of an industrial business that was allegedly scamming people all over the world.
As well as victims' names and details, we find something else in Tbilisi. A former employee of another Milton call center hands us training materials. Real phone calls used to instruct new recruits on how to sweet talk potential victims.
Sir, are you interested in making money, let's say making profit? Do you have access to the internet right now?
You need to have at least 250 euros, sir.
I know that you are 75-year-old pensioner.
So tell me, sir, you'll be using a Visa or a MasterCard?
The raids give us more insight into the scammers' tactics and how ruthless they can be. Nino says the evidence will help build the case for a series of prosecutions. EverFX was banned in the UK in 2021, but continues to operate in other countries. Senior associates, including Rati Chalidze and Guram Gogashvili, who ran the company, insist it's a legitimate regulated broker and nothing to do with the Milton Group. And since Jane's losses occurred after moving to a different platform, they aren't responsible. Seville FC say their sponsorship deal with EverFX expired in 2021, and they've had no contact since. We also sent David Kezrashvili a letter, and his lawyers reply, strongly denying he has ever had any involvement with the Milton Group or benefited from investment scams. He says he thinks EverFX is a legitimate business, and his links to the people behind it prove nothing. The $500 I invested with Milton is never returned. I receive an email from the company saying they figured out my schoolteacher persona isn't real, and to get lost, only in stronger language. The raids seem to have had an effect, for now at least. Alex tells me he's seen a drastic fall in the value of Bitcoin passing through the Milton wallet since November. But Milton aren't the only ones doing this. Police forces and journalists have a long road ahead. My thoughts return to Scandinavia, where Alex is trying to build an unusual new life. It was his bravery that triggered the investigation, and for him, it's had the deepest impact.
So you've been living in a safe place in an undisclosed location
Yes.
for the last 2 years
Yes.
because you feel in danger.
Yes.
And what's your internal feeling right now?
I don't feel sorry. I don't feel like a victim. I feel that I did the right thing. Because it destroys trust and it destroys society. I hope that we will be able to stop it.
Thank you for listening. There will be more from the documentary podcast soon.